Happy Friday. Welcome to All Things Considered, the podcast that gives you all sports all year from all angles. I'm your host, Al Scott, and today I've got a very special guest, Quincy Pondexter. Thank you for coming on, Quincy.
Thanks for having me. I don't know how special I am, but hopefully I'll do.
Well, you're only the second guest, so you're pretty special in my book.
Okay, I'm on a short list.
So you're on a short list. So Quincy, I-5'9" basketball legend. You grew up here in Fresno. You played at San Joaquin Memorial with Brooke and Robin Lopez. You guys had quite a team there. If I recall correctly, you guys made the state championship.
No,
we lost. Very close.
We lost the game before state championship like 3 years in a row. We lost in the Southern Final, and people love to rub that in our face. But I would love to have my career and the Lopez twins' career any day of the week over a state championship.
Would you say that sort of prepared you guys for your next step in your career? Sort of that you came so close, and maybe that sort of motivated you during your professional career?
Yeah, as you know, there were so many things that motivated us. I think, losing a game like that 3 years in a row, and you hear all the naysayers, and even people from our community didn't know what kind of players we were going to be. I think Brooke and Robin coming into San Joaquin Memorial from the Clovis West program, people didn't think that they were going to be that good. They thought they were just goofy kids with goggles. Myself, I grew up near Central. Like literally, you could throw a rock to Central High School from my house, and I was skinny, and I don't know what they saw in me, but they didn't see the player I became. And we had a lot of redemption moments. So losing a state championship or losing some of the games we lost, they always fueled me. I know it fueled them, and to have the careers we've had has been truly a blessing.
Well, so from San Joaquin Memorial, well, actually, let me stay there for a second. Did you guys have any fun memories? I mean, obviously, I know that the ending was not necessarily what you wanted, but, 3 future NBA veterans on one team. Was there any specific memories you had? Not necessarily just you and the Lopez brothers, but maybe you and your team, maybe playing for the Panthers, that stood out to you?
I think me and Brooke and Robin are so tied together. I don't even consider them friends. I consider them my brothers. So from the moment we stepped on campus to even before that playing AAU together, we literally spent every day together for 4 years straight, every single day. Working out in the morning at 5 a.m. with Coach Hooker, getting another workout in after school, and lifting and all, just the journey. I wouldn't have it any other way. And I think that, those are the moments I really remember and that stick with me to this day. There are so many core memories of us, fighting or dunking on each other or, competing. And, it's so crazy when you're going through it. I want to say like I knew that what the outcome was going to be, but you really don't know, and you're just enjoying the moment, and you're being kids, and it's truly remarkable how much God put his little sprinkle dust on us, and we were able to make it out of that little school down there in the middle of Fresno.
Amen. I couldn't tell you which brother it is now, but close. Was it 18 years ago? I was in 4th grade. I was playing AAU basketball for Clovis North, and the Lopez brothers would come to practice sometimes. This was very early in their NBA career, and I remember one day after practice, I think it was Brooke, it might have been Robin, but one of them, I was some, arrogant little 4th grader, and I said, I'm going to take you one-on-one. And I went up there, and Brooke swatted my shot. And that was the end of that one-on-one battle very quickly.
That's them in a nutshell. And so many times, like, I get text messages of, what is Brooke and Robin doing here? Or why are they walking around the random streets of Fresno or Clovis? I popped in and I saw me and Brooke ran into each other at Disneyland. They're the most amazing, unique guys ever. And I'm proud to call them my brothers.
Was Robin's hatred of mascots, has that always been a thing, or did that only come around in the NBA?
No, I think that's deep rooted since birth. I think there's an origin story, but I want to see what happened. But for as long as I can remember, that's been his thing. And from our earliest times and having mascots in high school, he's hated them all. So there's no discrepancy in it. Like he doesn't like any of them.
Good times. So from San Joaquin Memorial, go to Washington. Where was the decision in that? Were there other options? What made you choose UW?
I went on a visit to, I was kind of a late bloomer. So my recruitment had several spikes. And by the time my senior year, AAU season right before that year, and I took another spike. I went up. And some schools that were kind of, lukewarm on me, they start showing interest even more. So I had the likes of, UConn, Arizona, Bill, like everyone. There's a few might have missed. I always wanted to be somewhere that I had a good relationship with the staff. I could be myself, and nothing was given to me. And so I gone on a visit to UConn. I remember like this, like it was yesterday. I got to meet someone I admired and end up is still one of my best friends in Rudy Gay. That was a little bit too far from home. My dream school was Arizona. They wanted to recruit Chase Buttinger instead and didn't think we could both play together. And so that was a lot of tough conversations because I would have walked there if I could. With Luke Olson being on the staff, I ain't being the head coach, and him coaching my dad in college, I thought it was just a really cool story. And I saw how many wings that they had. And, Josh Pastner did a hell of a job of recruiting me as well. And then there was school Washington. I knew UCLA wasn't quite for me. I didn't like big cities. I'm a Fresno guy, so it kind of scared me. And I was terrified of living in a big city. So I thought Washington was good enough size, only an hour away, hour 20-minute flight away from Fresno. And when I got there, I had an unbelievable bond with Coach Romar. We hit it off right away, even though we had did a lot of time recruiting and speaking with each other. And once I got here, I knew it was home. And so there was one last visit that I took, and that was to Fresno State. I took an unofficial visit to Fresno State. The staff had me come up there, and I was almost a top 25 player in the country. And at the time, they told me, first thing Coach Cleveland said was, I haven't seen you play, but everyone says you're really good. And we're doing this because the media in Fresno would kill us, or the people in Fresno would kill us if we didn't do our due diligence and recruit you. So this is our meeting. Like,
Yeah.
basically saying, like, we're not going to get you. We have no chance to get you. But in my heart, as we're heading to the meeting, I remember being in the car, and I'm like, I didn't want to leave home. I'm such a Fresno guy, if you guys know. But I was like, I'm gonna shock the world and commit to Fresno State on this visit. Like, they just have to like be kind of cool. Like I like. So we get there, and he says that, and my dad stops him right when he finishes that line, and it's just like, well, it was good. No, good to know you guys, basically. And then they start talking about other kids on my AU team that they could recruit instead of me. And then we got in the car, and my dad was like, I'll never let you go there. It's kind of disrespectful. So, it hurt. But, to go away from home and find a second home in Washington was really, really, really special for me. And it's still home for me.
Do you think that's a case of a school that thought, they just never had a shot at you, and so they figured, why even try? Like, do you think it was more of that, or do you think it was they simply just didn't care?
Yeah, it was some of that. They probably thought they didn't have too much of a shot, but they clearly didn't do their due diligence enough to know, like, my family is so deep rooted in Fresno. I love the city. I played pickup basketball there every single day. I know exactly how to get in the North Gym or sneak in the North Gym. I know where the South Gym is at. And I'm a Fresno dude, man. I that was a dream of mine. There was times where I had a chance to transfer back home, and there was more fumbles that happened. And it's the game, but God placed me in a special place, and I'm just happy that I could still call Fresno home and still root them on. But being a Husky means the world to me.
Well, we'll get back to Fresno State a little bit later on, but sticking with the Huskies, you liked it so much that after your NBA playing career, you decided to stay on or come back rather to Washington, and now you're a coach there.
Yeah,
This is your fourth season in Washington, correct? Or you just finished your fourth season.
I
You
just
had
finished my
five.
fourth season at Wash. We could do the math on this. 3 seasons before with Mike Hopkins, I went to USC with Eric Musselman, who's a terrific coach, amazing coach. I learned so much from him. And then I was fortunate enough to come back here and join Coach Sprinkle's staff and be back here as a Washington Husky one more time. So that's 5 years, just in case anyone knows. Next year would be six, just in case that's a thing.
It's a breaking weight. Well, we'll touch on that 5 years in a little bit. But in terms of your coaching career, what are some of the things that you've learned as a coach that maybe you didn't know as a player?
The crazy thing is, man, I'm a crazy dude when it comes to loyalty and just care about the things that have shown me love. So I retired. It wasn't like I retired and like I was sitting on the couch and I didn't know what to do, and then I decided to coach. I was still actively playing, could have had some contracts, had some more left in the tank as far as my NBA career. And the job opened up, and I had been coaching AAU for the last 5, 6 years and coaching hundreds of games a summer. And my coach, one of my former coaches, Coach Dollar, he was like, "Man, so what's going on? How's your workouts?" And he was like, "Are you gonna coach AAU again?" And I'm like, "I might take a little time off and just really focus on playing still." And he was like, "You know what? They don't have another coach there. You should call and see if you could get an interview, and just to have it in your bag just in case the opportunity ever presents itself again." I interviewed. I went through like a month process of it, and Coach Hopkins was gracious enough to offer me a job. And so I remember I got offered the job. I was like, "Wait, I have to quit basketball now?" Like I didn't understand what I was doing, and
Yeah.
so, but I care so much about Washington now. I was like, you know what? I could start my career of coaching now, and it's probably better as a younger guy, so I could relate more and be able to give them everything I have as a player near their age, and hopefully help them get to their goals and dreams. But as a coach, I've gotten so much better, even from that moment and those conversations to now. I've grown a lot as a man. I started coaching with no family. Now I have a family and 3 kids, and it teaches you a lot. On the home teaches you a lot about how to handle dealing with some players. And so I've just grown a lot, and I'm just really grateful to have 3 head coaches I could have learned from, which Mike Hopkins, Eric Musselman, and Danny Sprinkle, to go back and be able to pick the brains of, Coach Popovich, who I learned a lot from playing for him. Monty Williams, who's one of the best mentors you could ever think of. Love him to death. And he's a coach I aspire to be like. Coach Romar, able to get on the phone with him still. And so I want to be a mix of all those guys and hopefully be a decent coach as I grow in this thing.
Well, you mentioned many great coaches, including the great Greg Popovich. Head coaching in your potential career, I know that in the next year you're focused on the University of Washington, but should an opportunity for a head coaching gig arise, would that be something of interest to you?
I'm a person that really has to be somewhere that I love. That's why I've really, recognized by myself. I've been fortunate enough to have a great career. I care about the University of Washington. There's been other jobs, there's been other things that have been proposed, but I'm here. I'm 10 toes in here at Washington. I care about this place. For me to leave here, it have to be somewhere I really, really, really care about.
Well, let me stop you right there. You've mentioned that even in sort of the rejection at Fresno State, that I know that there's still probably some interest. Obviously, you love Fresno. Should that job become available in the next few years, would that be something you'd be interested in? Because I know that you were interested in it 2 years ago, but they didn't allow people with less than 5 years of experience. So I guess the question is, would you be interested in that job if it became available again?
Again, I'm really focused here on Washington. I think Coach Wahlberg has done a phenomenal job of really getting some of the people in the valley excited. He's doing all he can to really he's pouring his all into it. And so to see what Coach Wahlberg has done, have the utmost respect for him and his program and the direction that they're going in. I think they're going in a good direction. I know this portal thing is really tough. I know keeping a roster is very tough, but he's the man to do it, and he's who they chose, and so he has my full support. And who knows? I can't say from my perspective. It's something. It would have to be something that that side would want. I have my house in Fresno. I still visit Fresno quite often. Um, and I'm a huge fan of everything Bulldogs. So I watch every football game. I keep track of the women's basketball games. Keep track of I watch every single basketball game from start to finish. I know some of you guys might call me or text me or DM me and be like, "Hey, you see that?" It's like, yeah, I'm watching. Like I watch every single second of it. But
I remember one of the games towards the end of this year, you were tweeting out about the camera angles at the Same Center and how why are they so high? I think part of
yeah,
that's
that's really like crazy, man. Like the camera angle is like way too high. And so every time you're watching, I'm like, they gotta fix this or like get a better camera or whatever crew to come. But that's the vision of being like, when there's a time, hopefully, that arena's packed going into the Pac-12 and, you get some national TV games. How good is that camera angle going to be? How good is the experience going to be for fans that are watching that, could say, man, I want to go to play for my hometown team, which, is something that's near and dear to me. So,
Well, I love it. And so you mentioned the portal, and obviously, that's something that has hit Fresno State hard in recent years. You've experienced firsthand sort of what that's like in recruiting players, seeing players leave, having players come in. Is there something about the portal, that maybe you would change or propose changes to sort of make it more fair, I guess I would say?
there needs to be a lot of revisions on it, and I think there's a lot of gray area on some things, but it's as competitive as it ever been in Division 1 sports. So you're not just competing to get recruits, but you have to compete to get money. You got to compete to get revenue share, NIL support. All these things that are encompassed in just, you're not just a basketball coach anymore. You're not just, selling the plan of academics and higher education and with the degree I do. So I think there's some revisions, like especially I think people shouldn't be able to transfer more than once without a penalty because, 4 or 5 schools and, there's guys that start a season with someone and not really like the situation. Try to get there's just so many things that are, just gray areas and guys are really staying in college a lot longer. I was telling someone the other day, it's like, I haven't heard the phrase, I'm a bet on myself. I think that was something that was said over and over and over in all these posts. And it was like, oh, I'm a bet on myself and I'm going to go to the NBA or go play professionally. And you don't see that anymore. There's no more betting on themselves. How much money can you give me? And I just think that there should be just guidelines on what's fair and as far as paying for these athletes. And
You're seeing a lot more guys in their early to mid 20s, stretching, you've got 24 and 25-year-olds. I think there was a 26-year-old at USC last year that are still playing college basketball, and the turnover of the, I guess the counter of that is then you've got 18 and 19-year-olds that normally would be getting spots that are now, I guess, settling for the JUCO levels because there's no spots left.
yeah, and you see it, man. There's some great young local players in the Valley. You see them that aren't getting the opportunities that they should because guys that are older, they don't want to leave. They don't want to let go of that rope. They don't want to go start their lives or start playing professionally where it might not be as illustrious as playing in college and making a lot of money. They're taking the easy way out. So they just know they might not be an NBA player. So I'm gonna stay in this thing as long as possible. I really, really believe that there needs to be a revision. And I feel bad for the young high school kids that aren't getting as many opportunities as there once was. But my advice to them is just keep working. You've seen it with so many players from Cedric Coward, who might have gone an unconventional way, and he's able to make the NBA. Don't give up on your dreams. It's just how hard are you going to work to get there? At the end of the day, all it takes is one team to see you, one guy to find you. And trust me, I'm looking night and day. I'm working, looking night and day to find that next player.
Cedric's actually currently playing for one of your former teams, the Memphis Grizzlies. You played 7 years in the NBA. You had 5 years, and then you had a hiatus for a little bit, and then you finished up with the Bulls, and then your last year was that in San Antonio?
Yeah.
So you have 7 years in the NBA. I'll get into maybe some of the down spots in a little bit, but talking about some of the good things, you made your mark as a quality 3-point marksman, solid on ball perimeter. Can you talk about maybe for you what allowed you to extend your NBA career along so much? Because not every guy makes 7 years.
Yeah.
It's a lot of guys, they might get a spot, a year or two in the NBA, and then they're sort of phased out. So what allowed you to stay in the league as long as you did?
Technically, it's 9 years. There was the 2 years I was hurt. I was injured, but I was a part of the New Orleans Pelicans, and I was with them every day, and I was trying everything possible. I was still a team captain at the time, and trying to do everything it took to get back on that floor. We had a really good playoff run. We had made the playoffs, and we were like one of those young up and coming teams with Anthony Davis, Tyreke Evans, Drew Holiday, Eric Gordon. That all we just needed is that one next year, that one more year, and we got there. We played against the Warriors, and then after the season, I had surgery, and it changed kind of the trajectory of the team. And there are so many positives in your career, and there's so many things that you could look back at and be like, man, I really did it. But me being the person I am, it truthfully speaking, it feels like a failure sometimes because I want to play as long as Brook and Robin. I should still be probably playing or be nearing the end where I could leave on my own terms. And there was so much more basketball left in me. And it's sometimes it's hard to sleep at night thinking about it because I just loved it so much. But God put it in my heart to make sure I give it to the next generation. So my career didn't turn out how I wanted to for a reason, and that's so I could have the next 10, 20, 30 kids or wherever it may be under me be better players than I am, be better people than I am, and make it a lot further. And so I'm happy with some of it, but I'm definitely wasn't satisfied with how it went.
You mentioned Drew Holiday, one of my all-time favorite basketball players. He, I think it was a story that he did with Chris Haynes talking about, your injury history, and he had mentioned that you're one of the hardest workers he's ever met, and especially during that time where you're not playing, that 2-year hiatus where you're dealing with knee injuries. Can you talk about maybe some of the mindset in terms of getting back on your feet? I know that, there was probably some times where you thought that you're probably never going to play basketball again.
Yeah,
Can you talk about maybe some of the motivation that push you to
man.
get through that process?
I think the work ethic was just deep rooted in Fresno. It came from, guys in that valley that probably thought they were better than me, or, a guy like Deshaun Jackson got player of the year over me and Brooke and Robin in our senior year of high school. So up until the end was people doubting. And every single stepping stone back, it just propelled me forward. So every little hiccup of like, all right, I didn't make McDonald's game, Brooke and Robin did. That kept me in the gym 10, 20 hours a day. It just fueled me. And that was kind of the trend of my career where I was good, but then there will be like a setback and then like I'll propel forward. I'd never been injured. I'd never done anything. I never missed a practice from high school to college to getting into after my first few years in the NBA. And then we play against the Warriors in the playoffs and I guard Steph Curry. My knee was thrashed, and we go to have off-season surgery, and we're thinking it's just going to be a cleanup. The doctor said it was only going to be 20% chance I need a microfracture. And I remember I woke up from the surgery, and it was like my leg was, in the biggest brace I've had ever seen in my life. And I was like, what just happened? And from that moment on, it just changed the whole trajectory of my career. I was at a breaking point of really, I just become a starter, just shot a career high in 3-point percentage, just, was getting to the point where I was going to be a staple 3-and-D guy in the NBA and on a really good team where I could have grown with Anthony Davis and Drew Holiday and all those guys. It went from something that we thought was going to be kind of minor surgery to more invasive. And then that turned into, we thought it was going to be a quicker timeline of coming back into, it was 2 years of just hit after hit after hit after hit, and I never gave up. And when it couldn't have gone any worse, I had a scope to clean out my knee. And um, I woke up a couple days later from that and thought I was going to be back closer to being back on the court. And, we were trying to, get everything right. And I woke up and my knee was the size of a basketball. And went to the hospital and a whole bunch of things happened and I ended up having MRSA and end up almost dying and all these things. And it was just like, just never gave up. And my dad had said it since I was a kid. He was just like, man, you're just so resilient. There were so many times for me to tap out and just something that's built in me just won't let me. And so when adversity strikes, I'm always the one that's just like, just wait, just bet on me at that time. When it's not its best, bet on me on that time. Going from this last season as a coach, and I felt that same fire. We had a lot of injuries. We came up a little short. I felt down, and I felt like, dang, is this how good of a coach can I be? And how good can this program be? And in that same moment, it took me up another notch where I was just like, I'm not going out like that. Like, we're going to get to the NCAA tournament. We're going to make a deep run. And all those things that are deep rooted in me from Fresno to my playing career are deep rooted in me now as a coach. Your work ethic, man, I wasn't the most talented and I saw it from so many players. And it starts with, going to go see Fresno State practices all the time when I was a kid. My dad was on staff as a special assistant to the athletic director. So he worked directly with Tark. He played for Tark, and so I got to see the Chris Herons, the Courtney Alexanders, the Chris Jeffries, and Melvin Eli's, and so many players that were so good and they would be talented. My dad would tell me how talented they are. And just the game came easy to them. They wouldn't work as hard. And it was like, Dad, why didn't that guy make it? He didn't work as hard, or these things got in the way. And so from a young age, getting kicked out of Steinbeck Elementary every single day just to go to practice at Fresno State, it taught me what it took to make it in the NBA. I'm really, really thankful, especially for my dad. He's the reason why. Um, I am who I am now.
I love that. So in your 9, not 7, 9 years in the NBA, was there ever a player, and it doesn't have to be a guy that you played with, it could be a guy that you played against. Was there ever a moment in the NBA you're watching a guy that just puts you in awe? Like they were so exceptionally good at basketball that you just had to stop and admire it for a minute.
Man, there's a lot of them. Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, probably the greatest basketball player I've ever laid eyes on. Like the complete package. I remember, I'm getting ready to play him on my rookie, and I'm asking. This happened 2 years in a row. My rookie year and my second year, it was just like, all right, so coach, what's the game plan? Like, what are we doing? How am I going to guard him? How am I going to do X, Y, and Z? And he was just like, he has no weaknesses. Don't make him mad. I was like, wait, what? Like, do I send him left on his pull up? Like, is he going to shot? Like, no, 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 no. Like, there's no send him left. There's no send him right. There's no, oh, he turns it over. He has no weaknesses, and don't make him mad. And I was just like, all right, man, you guys really gave me a real kick to set me out to really prepare to go to war with this guy. It was really amazing to have the battles and things that I had with him. Kevin Durant, of course, one of the most talented players. And seeing Anthony Davis every day in person. There's so many guys that are just so exceptional on the basketball floor.
Okay, well, before we wrap up, I'm going to give some rapid fire get to know questions. Get to know Quincy questions. If you didn't follow your NBA career, become a basketball player, now a coach, what would your career be?
Wow.
You can't choose anything in basketball.
A comedian, a big comedian.
Okay. If you could have one final meal before you rest at the end of your life, what are you choosing?
Man,
It could be a full course meal.
So I'm a soul food guy, a soul food. So, fried chicken, mac and cheese, greens, might be some fried pork chops. I know yeah, give me a soul food meal. I'm good. But everyone in Fresno must go to Boulay soon, opening very soon.
I'll have to check it out.
No soul
What
food
is
there. No soul food there.
no
But
soul
it's
food?
really good. No soul food, but it's really, really, really good. Trust me, go try out Boulay.
What's it called?
Boulay.
Boulay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to check it out. What is one thing about Quincy that most people don't know?
I'm actually kind of shy sometimes, and I'm a homebody for the most part. I think my typical day to day is just, being at home with my family, my kids driving me crazy, and my girl, and just watching TV, watching games all night. And then we get to a point where the kids take over, and we might watch a lot of their shows, or my girl takes over. At the end of the day, man, I'm a homebody. I love my family, and they mean the world to me.
Mount Rushmore of Fresno basketball players. They don't have to. It can include Fresno State or guys that just grew up in Fresno. But yeah, Mount Rushmore of Fresno basketball players.
Cliff Pondexter, Roscoe Pondexter, Deshaun Stevenson, and Brooke Lopez.
Solid 4.
Solid 4.
Okay, one last rapid fire question. Favorite game you've ever played in?
Favorite game I've ever played in, man. That's a hard one because my favorite games haven't turned out the best. So like I'm weird, man. So like the wins, like all like they're like, oh, you won this game, or you won this, or you hit the NCAA game winner. I don't really cherish those as much. Like sometimes I cherish the heartbreaks a little bit more. So I would say losing state championship my senior year. I think that was one. It's probably the most pivotal game I've ever played in. But if we want to talk about a happy moment, I will talk about the NCAA game winner against Marquette in 2010. I think that was really cool to hit a shot and send us to another round, and getting to make it against Jimmy Butler, who's one of the all-time greatest players ever. It was pretty cool.
Before we go, you are still very big in the basketball community here in Fresno. Are you still involved with Pro AM?
We hope to mend some things, and hopefully we're able to get Fresno basketball back this summer where it should be.
Well, there's been quite a few Fresno guys in recent years. Jalen Green, AJ Johnson, Cedric Coward. Is in that group of guys, is it encouraging maybe to see some of that same Fresno talent that you've come to know over the years sort of make it back to the NBA?
Man, I'm so proud of Jalen, AJ, Cedric, and to see them at such young points and to be able to make it to where they've made it, to put Fresno on the map and to be able to love the city and give back like they do, I think it's truly remarkable, man. And I'm their biggest fans. I watch and keep up with all those guys, and I look forward to them pushing on the next generation. I know we got a young, talented eighth grader about to be a freshman out there this year. He's the next one. And then you got, got to keep riding this wave. Keeps coming in waves of Fresno talent, and we're really proud of them, especially as old guys. But I want to see if we could compete against them. I want to see if we could do an old guys versus young guys pro-am game this year. That would be really cool. I
Love the confidence. Well, thank you, Quincy, for coming on today, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And yeah, thank you for coming on.
appreciate it. God bless.
Join us next week on All Things Considered every Friday.